Hi, I'm Shannon McGee, strategic business coach and franchise owner with Network in Action here in the Nashville metropolitan area and nationwide as well. And today I have Chip Gallant with Petra Coach. Thanks for joining me today, Chip.
Hi, Shannon. Thank you.
So tell me a little about your own entrepreneurial journey.
So it really goes back to my childhood. My father and stepmother at the time had an organization that they built up, eventually took it public.
Oh,
And that's really where the entrepreneurial spirit was born in me, because I looked at that as an opportunity for me to grow into something over time and perhaps maybe even get in the family business. And I'll never forget that when I was in high school, I was talking to my dad about this, and he said, "Well, if you have any dreams of coming to work for here, you're going to need to be the janitor for at least 2 years." And so I thought about it and I took him up, and with the intention of eventually moving into the business. And by the time my second year in college rolled around, I had done that and started out slow. But before my junior year, I had already been promoted to marketing director. So looking at my college career in conjunction with what I really wanted to do, really drove that entrepreneurial spirit for me. And lo and behold, some things happened, and the marriage broke up, unfortunately. And he and I moved here to Nashville in 1993. And I knew that I wanted to be in control of my own destiny, so I just started out on my journey looking for different jobs. Obviously, got into sales and consulting, and did that for a little bit, and just found that I worked better on my own. And
yeah.
so I started my first company in the mid 90s. And from there, started working heavily in the internet space. I put most of the Nashville record labels online for the first time in the mid 80s or mid 90s, excuse me. And then that sprung board into other businesses. And eventually I became a president of a public company, kind of going back to the roots,
Yeah.
and took that company as a very small penny stock company. Took that from basically nothing in zero in revenue to 5 million within 4.5 years.
Wow.
Expanded nationally, and we were in the online movie and game rental business. Much like, we were shipping discs at the time,
Yeah.
much like Netflix and Blockbuster were. And then that kind of ran its course, and I took a little bit of time off and got back into technology. Became a chief operating officer of a big tech firm here in Nashville, and did a few other things, which eventually led me to coaching. And
Awesome.
I've been coaching now almost 7 years here with Petra. And it has run the gamut in the number of and types of clients that I get to work with, and coach along the way. But it very much has allowed me to participate in the entrepreneurial world, because I'm getting to take my experiences and my failures in some instances, and help bring along other people going through the same things I did back in my entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah. So speaking of, like, all of that experience is like all this wealth of knowledge you get to bring to others. So tell us a little bit more about the coaching and kind of the focus that you do with Petra Coach.
So it's really interesting. When I first started my coaching journey and going through training and ultimately certification, the owner and the head coach of the organization had mentioned to me. He said very matter of factly, "This will be the toughest thing you ever did or done." Excuse me. And I kind of smirked and I'm like, "Really?" And he said, "Second place isn't even close." And boy, was he right. Um, the Because I had to unlearn so much. I tell people all the time, I'm a recovering consultant these days, as much as I am a coach, because the hardest part about coaching is, even when you know the answer, resisting the temptation to give them the answer.
Mm. Oh yeah.
And it's really, really difficult, because I have more impact when I can coach them through the thought process to eventually come to the
Mhm.
same conclusion, so that they don't have to be reliant on me at any
Yeah.
point in time. And much like we learn in sports, a lot of times organizations think, "Oh my gosh, I did this one thing right for the first time." Well, that
Hmm.
doesn't mean you got it. And to quote Nick Saban, from his time in coaching all those national championship teams at Alabama and other schools, He said the point of coaching is to help you see that getting it right the first time is just the first step in the journey.
Hmm.
My job is to help you get it to the point where you can't do it wrong. And so that's what we talk about a lot. Do I want to have linear impact or do I want to have exponential impact? And when I withhold the answers and really help them diagnose the issue and see it from different angles, take into account different options, different strategic choices, they're going to be better. And
I love
so,
that. So I have a question for you.
shoot.
Clearly, a lot of people need help,
Mhm.
but what should they see in themselves to know it's time to get help? Right? Because there's those people that know they need help and they will never change and never give it, like, versus the people that I'm ready.
It's a great question. I will tell you the single most important thing that we listen for when we're talking to entrepreneurs is frustration.
Mm,
They've had plans, they've had goals. For whatever reason, the organization isn't achieving those things. You might have lofty revenue growth goals, but you're stagnant. If you've been at the same revenue level for 2 or 3 years in a row, it's you. It's not the market. Because the foundation for my coaching philosophy is really centered on one phrase, and that is that every organization has to be behaving one step ahead of where they are. So if you're a $5 million company today, you need to be behaving like and start behaving like a $10 million company. That's the catalyst to get there.
and they don't know
If
how to
you're
do that without help. I mean, because you're so buried in the trenches
in
in today.
Well, it goes back to the old E-Myth idea of how much are you working on the business versus in the business. And what
Mhm.
we find is that the in the business capacity right now is shrinking.
Yeah.
And we have to be even more strategic when we look at the on the business things because the truth of the matter is, look, in any given quarter, you're going to have about 13 weeks. It's about somewhere between 58 and 62 working days. And if you work an 8 hour day, that's somewhere in the neighborhood of 575, 590 hours available to you in a quarter. The truth is, 90% of that time is already accounted for. That's
Hmm.
the stuff you got to do your job. So that means if there's 50 or 60 hours over a 13-week period, you've got to be significantly more strategic
Hmm.
about what it is you choose to work on and do fewer things to get further faster. It is counterintuitive, but we see it all the time. Pulling back and getting stuff done will get you further faster because it starts this, I call it muscle memory, starts to
Hmm.
compound. And next thing you know, that mindset totally envelops the entirety of the organization. Now you have culture shift and the speed at which you can evolve goes up. But you
This
got
is
to build
such
that
an
rhythm.
important conversation, right? Like, this
Mhm.
is such an important conversation for any business.
Yep.
Chip, if someone wanted to get a hold of you, what's the best way to reach you?
The best way to reach me is either through email, chip@petracoach.com, or my cell phone number is with me. I wouldn't say 24/7. I turn it off. I'm very habitual about, keeping that space. But
As
my
you should.
phone, yes, right. 615-349-6400.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for your time today, Chip. I've really enjoyed talking with you.
Thank you.